Welcome, fellow travelers. My name is Droog, and I'm joining Chibi and Vertek at the Golden Feather. Come on in, grab a seat, and let's share some tales of adventure.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Golden Feather Tavern, where your host, Vertek, and myself, Chibi, discuss AshesofCreation and important topics spoken about within the Ashes community. Every week, we invite you, the guest, the viewers, and a special guest. You're our guest patrons, I guess, but our special guest.
Be our guest.
Oh man, I lost my spot. Especially goes to pull up a chair, grab a pint, and join the conversation with us. Today is April 23rd, 2024, and we are in episode 204, The Droogs of Ashes. The traveling bard joining us today is the one and only Droog.
Hi. I'm still laughing at the BR guest that Vertek was doing.
Hey, what can I do except for distract? That is my job.
You missed an opportunity. What can I do except say you're welcome?
You're welcome. Yeah.
We moved from Beauty and the Beast to Moana. All right.
Absolutely.
Jumped a couple decades. Got it.
And that being said, we have Vertek. Hi, Vertek. How are you? Hello.
Well, I'm doing all right today. I was horrendously terrible yesterday. Travel is a beast normally, but yesterday was something special.
That's fair. I am the one, if you can't tell, that is doing the streaming today, and Vertek is joining us from a remote location. But what do we have on tap for today?
Well, we have a couple different nifty things. I hear something about comparing some games, maybe some Mortal Online, Stark Terror, and Ashes. Some other little topics in there, some gameplay topics, specific aspects of Ashes people are all about, some unpopular opinion maybe. And then some random topics, which might include, if we get to it, some discussion on Unreal Engine 5. And then, of course, some Ashes news and some fan focuses, some really good fan focuses today. By the way, one of them is my favorite in a while. Actually, no, I can't even pick a favorite at this point because one's been a long time favorite and the other one just popped up as a favorite. But more important than any of that is our guest, Droog.
Droog, tell us about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. I'm Droog. Droog Plays. I've been streaming MMOs and RPGs for about a year and a half now, and I decided to get about 50 to 70% into the Ashes space about 7 or 8 months ago. I've been following the game I've been following since the famous Lazy Peon video about 3.5-4 years ago. We all know the one I'm talking about. And I first started streaming Destiny 2. That was been one of the games I played for about 10 years now. And it's one of those games that I enjoy it, but I don't think it's a game I enjoy streaming, right? So I started looking at different RPGs that were coming out, and man, I've been having so much more fun playing things like No Rest for the Wicked lately, and various MMOs like Guild Wars, Final Fantasy, and things like that. So that's kind of where I am in the creation space. But other than that, I'm a dad. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and every Disney reference you throw out there, I will always get at this point. And I really enjoy playing games. I was fortunate enough to find a community about a year ago now that we've just been playing a lot of community games. So started off with V Rising with them, and it just kind of has spiraled from there. And
nice.
so it hasn't really helped the gaming budget very much, because gaming communities tend to jump from, they consume, right? They find a new game, play it to death, and then move to the next one.
Oh my gosh.
But it's been a blast.
Or they play it for like maybe a week and then pop on to the next one.
But they play it hard, so they will play it for a week, but they'll play it hard for a week. So I've had to learn how to kind of temper my my involvement in some of them. But V Rising is one that caught me by surprise. It's the one that I really joined them. Like they did a community server when the last update came out about a year ago, and then since then it's just been go. Survival genre, really, really heavily. So, but that's who I am. I love games. My daughter pops on stream every once in a while just to say goodnight, because I stream usually like right after dinner. So if you ever watch my stream, you'll see her jump on, and her catchphrase is "Good night, nerds." She'll say it.
I love it. That's cute.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Aww.
Yeah, I was gonna get into the V Rising thing with some folks, but then I forget why, but something popped up and totally distracted me away from that one.
As is just gaming in general. I was like scrolling through Twitter the other day, and someone like there's a real big kind of meme going on in the gaming community. Oh, I froze there. But in the Twitter gaming community, is gaming in a rut right now? And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like I can't play everything I want to play. So
right.
Yeah, gaming in general definitely is not the rut, I would think.
No, I think it's just to me, I think if I talk to people that think it's in a rut, it's because they want a very specific experience that they're chasing after from maybe like the before times, which is just when they first started gaming, right? So a lot of that comes from like my old WoW community. It's like the gaming sucks now and it's been ruined by X and Y factors and blah, blah, blah. But it's not. Like there's so many good games and so many good communities out there.
Yeah.
Now, here's a pop quiz for you then. What is one? That's a two-part question. So part one, what is your favorite type of game to play? Part two is what's your favorite to stream and play for people?
It's shifted. It has definitely shifted. I'm an old school, just tried and true MMO game player. I love MMOs. I'll try almost any that come out, whether or not they look like they're going to be paid to win. I'll probably play Throne and Liberty. I'll probably play, I try them all, like, just because I want to see if there's, some value to them. So I think personally, I love those the most. I actually, the second part of that question though has been kind of a struggle, because it's a lot easier to stream when you're bouncing back and forth with a couple people that you're playing with at the time. When you feed off each other and it gets kind of silly and whatever, right? So lately that's been more in the survival genre, to be honest. But I think I'm really excited about Ashes, because me and another buddy convinced 13 other people to get into Alpha 2. I felt a little bad about it because of the price tag that comes with it, but it was, fully their decision. So we have about 13 people that are coming from this community that I've been a part of for the past year or so. So I'm really, really excited to stream that with them, do some, check out the PvP and the crafting systems. So I'm hoping that becomes one of the MMOs that I've been excited to stream, because there haven't been many that I'm excited to stream for a while, right? I've been playing WoW Season Discovery just because it's a comfort, right? I initially started streaming, I said Destiny, which is, they call themselves an MMO, but I don't think they are. And then Guild Wars 2 was another one I started, but they're just not really fun to stream because
Destiny I've always liked to call an MMO because it's a mildly multiplayer online.
Yeah. I think there was another game that came out and they called themselves an MMO light, Wayfinder. I think that came out in early access last fall.
Yeah.
But in a very similar vein, right? There's like a big social space, and kind of Monster Hunter World-y, where you have your big social space and then you can go out and you might see other players in an instanced version of other spaces. So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to redirect us a little bit here. For those that don't know you yet, because you are a newer content creator, what kind of content do you intend to make for Ashes?
Do you mean like medium or like platform wise, or what do you mean by that question?
It sounded like you're trying to become a content creator for Ashes. So like what kind of content?
You're going to be, let's say, PvP, competitive PvP? Are you going to be like a PvE strategist? Are you going to be a super crafter?
Well,
are you going to be a building?
There's even like, are you going to do podcasts? Are you going to do guides? Like in general, what kind of content? Like let people know what you're doing.
No, that's a good question. At this point, I am looking forward to just playing it on stream. I have created a singular video. Finding time as a dad of a 3-year-old to create and edit videos has been a struggle. I don't think I'm going to get into the space where I'm creating guides. I've been having some conversations with some other content creator friends of mine, and that's definitely a way into the space. I think it's one of the, if you're quick with it, it's an easy way in, right? I think, and I'm not like degrading that by any means. I think that's a fantastic way in, but it's kind of like, yeah, if you're going to create guides or if you're going to create like strategy stuff, like, and you can do it quickly, that's a good way in. I just don't think that's going to be what I kind of just like, I started streaming and playing because I really just enjoy chatting with people. I like meeting people. So I think that's probably going to be more my vibe. I might create some silly videos and shorts with the experiences. I'm not going to be a competitive PvPer. I do enjoy world PvP. So I think there might be some fun experiences there with a couple buddies, as we get on and play through Alpha 2. I also think Alpha 2 is going to be interesting because I don't think it's going to be this. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation behind this, but it's going to be like a set. You create a character, and this is your character for the next 2 years of alpha and beta, right? I think it's going to be reset often, as Steven has said. So I think just jumping in the moment, whatever we're testing, and just streaming that and possibly creating videos off of that. But as of now, that's the plan. I am actually looking to up a little bit of my content creation schedule after this next business trip I have. So starting mid-May, either I'll be streaming more or I'll stream a little bit more and maybe try to create a few more videos. But at this point, I think there's a lot of people in the space creating speculation and theory videos around Ashes. It's becoming something that people are just disengaging from a little bit because it's a bit of
Thank you so much.
It's a bit of kind of an echo chamber at the moment, right? We just need to get our hands on the game. It's generally the consensus. So so I guess short answer is just streaming and playing it and just meeting people in a community, and then we'll see if there's fun clips and YouTube videos that come from that. I think that's kind of the plan.
Okay, makes sense. And real quick, thank you. I'm not sure if it's Hago P13 or Hagop 13. Name. Thank you so much.
Maybe it's
Hagapee.
IE.
Hago Pie.
I don't know.
Pie.
But yes, thank you so much for the resub. Appreciate it.
But yeah, I hear you on the guides thing. The closest I've ever come to making a guide video is when SOTOR came out. There were all these little datacrons hidden around everywhere, and one guy went through and collected videos of a lot of just gathering every single one. And I think I was about a third of his videos were me recording the path to getting to them. But that's the closest I've ever gotten to making a guide
we'll watch
video.
Vertec get this next one.
Yeah.
It was like him, one other person, and myself were basically recording all those videos, and I just kind of shoveled him his way and let him make the video.
Nice. Yeah. All right, so I want to try something new. Only in 1 to 2 sentences, so be very brief. These are a couple of really good icebreaker questions that I liked. I felt like would be a good icebreaker question, rather. Tell me about your A2 character.
That's 1 to 2 sentences.
Yes.
Okay. If I have to, it's going to be. But I don't think there's just one A2 character, GB. I don't think that's.
That's a good answer. I like that. That's a good answer.
Because I think we're gonna be, and this is my speculation, we're going to be reset and asked to test this specific thing now. Like now everybody's level 20 and you're in this new zone and you're all you're all Dunia or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I just think that's what from my reading between the lines of Steven's what he's been saying, and again, I'm not, I don't have any privy, behind the scenes knowledge. I think it's just going to be, we're not creating a character that's our character. It's test these things because it's an alpha. But if your question is, if you had an alpha character and you were to play it for, a good chunk of alpha, healer, because I've been really enjoying healing in MMOs lately. Not settled on a race yet. I really like the Nakua. Actually, I think there's such a inspired version of that, of the dwarf race in a game.
Nice.
And then like definitely PVX focused. Like I'm not trying to just PVE. I'm not trying to just PvP. Some of the most fun I've had in any MMO was this classic WoW 2019 world bosses on a PvP server. So fun.
I think he's taking our answers too.
Yeah.
Did I steal all yours? Okay, I'm done. That was 4 sentences. I'm sorry.
Well, mine was basically going to be multiple characters trying all the things, especially every tank. And I want to try all the different races because I know he's going to be back when launch comes. So I want to try all the other ones, see what it looks like from a short person point of view.
Grim, I just love your role play that you're doing. So he's figured out how to slant the type in the chat. So looks at Droog in awe. So few visionaries left. Nice to see. I just enjoy that. But yeah, for me, primarily, I like the answer that I saw on Reddit, which is character as in singular. No, I'm going to be testing multiple things. In my case, it's going to be a multiple cleric primaries, and then whatever the secondaries are that are available. So
Healers unite.
Yeah. I'm going to try all cleric variants and bard variants. I'm going to pop this up from Gooback. Gooback says, I'm going to try all cleric variants and all bard variants, bardians. Can't wait. And yeah, I think bard is definitely one of the ones that people are very much anticipating. So the next one in 1 to 2 sentences is, what is the purpose of a trash mob to you?
Just real quick, going back, I would have said Bard if we'd seen Bard, but I have no idea what Bard looks like, so I can't commit to that. Okay,
all we
trash
saw
mobs.
Bard was the like heavy metal, or not heavy metal, but the EDM. Yeah.
It was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, trash mobs. Sorry, what was the question? What is a trash? What is the purpose
of a trash mob to you?
Can you define trash mob, please, Alex?
So that'll be a trash mob buy-in for 5. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, trash mob is anything that will usually die without posing any credible threat to a player. So like solo or duo.
99 times out of 100, it's in reference to a dungeon or raid. Like there's bosses, and then trash mobs is basically everything else on the way to a boss.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about raid and dungeon trash mobs, because I mean, I know what a trash mob is in general, but for the purpose of the question, in what context? What is the purpose of a trash mob in a raid or a dungeon to me?
Well, considering most of Ashes is going to have open world raids and dungeons, I don't think that really matters at this point. It's just a trash mob.
2 sentences. Okay, first sentence: world population. So filling out the environment with things that are living to kill. I guess. Farmable drops like leather or cloth or something you can go grind. That to me, that's what a trash mob would typically be used for.
Gotcha. Okay.
One shot, like a one-shot mob is bad design. There should never be a one-shot mob, I don't think, unless you're going to lower level areas.
I agree. Grim Liberty says trash mobs help develop the node and develop the character personality traits, gives them history. And then Gooback says fodder to give me XP, but if I pull too many and underestimate them, they will destroy the party. And yeah, I've had that experience as well. But yeah, these are just a couple of kind of silly questions that, not like silly as in like not important, but just like lighthearted questions that I thought would be fun to ask. But since you are the guest, would you like to choose which discussion theme we start off with, be it comparing other games or gameplay? Or we could even cover the random topic on Unreal Engine if you'd like. Whatever choice you would like to go down.
Whatever floats your boat.
Let's compare other games.
Okay. So somebody has been by the name of Crow has been playing Mortal Online 2 recently. I'm gonna copy this and send it out to you guys. And they've played it for the past 6 weeks or so, and they've been completely immersed, and especially thought about how that relates back to Ashes. And if you're not familiar with the original, and this is not my knowledge, I'm just reading the post. MO2 is a vast open world, full loot PvP MMO with forced first-person perspective, action combat, and a frankly over-the-top use-based skill system that encourages specialization. Use-based means you increase skills as you use them. For the old school, this feels like the spiritual successor to Ultima Online. So what does this have to do with Ashes? They spent a lot of time with MO2, and it's really helped them clarify the middle ground approach that Steven and Intrepid in general is trying to take on PvX. And Crow says that there's always a tangible sense of danger in MO2, since death has the consequence of losing everything you're carrying, including your mount. So I'm just going to stop that there. There's more to read, plenty more. Their TLDR is MO2 clarifies some of Ash's design decisions in a surprisingly tangible way. And it's worth checking out as well, since we're between A1 and 2. But what are your thoughts? What are some other games that you feel like have kind of helped give perspective on PvX? Because this is also a very different kind of game.
Yeah. So I was actually watching some Mortal Online 2 content.
Okay.
I've never played it myself, but I was actually watching it a couple months ago. So I thought this was interesting that it popped up here.
Sorry. Don't mean to interrupt necessarily. Just know I'm going to step away. I'm still listening, but the AC here kicked on and it's loud. So I'm going to go turn it off.
We don't hear it, by the way.
But he hears it. That's what's important.
Okay. You were watching some people play MO2.
I was watching people play MO2, and I actually had the knee-jerk reaction that the reason that MO2 isn't wildly popular is because it is extremely niche. Full loot PvP is rough. It's why Amazon Game Studios abandoned it for New World, right? Like they were not going to have the player count. And when we look at a game like Ashes, that all the systems and everything that they're trying to create is really contingent upon a healthy player count, like player economy driven and player driven storylines require a certain amount of players to be on the server. And I think people see partial loot from Ashes and they shy away from it. So they say, I could be out farming my herbs or my lumber or my hunting or whatever, and someone could come and they could give themselves some corruption just to make myself have a bad time and take my gear. That is going to scare them away. So what steps is Intrepid taking to quell that kind of fear? Like it's not, and I think everything Steven and Intrepid and Margaret have said on their streams has been, look, there's not going to be griefing. Like our system's going to be punishing enough where that just won't be a thing. But everyone inherently from their past experiences and things like PvP servers of World of Warcraft and other games that have open world PvP, Rust or whatever, right? They're going to get griefed. Like it's like if the penalty's not strong enough, so they don't have faith that the developer can make the penalty strong enough. But that was kind of my knee-jerk reaction, was like, we see this game, Mortal Online, that has some semblance to what Ashes is trying to do, where there could be PvP at any moment, right? And it just killed the player base because there's not enough people interested in that. That said, I don't know enough about Mortal Online to know if there's other variables that stopped it from becoming a healthy player base. But to me, and conversations I have within the gaming space, people don't generally want that. A lot of, especially MMO gamers, let's admit it, we're in a little bit of an aging generation in general. Like, we want to come home from work and play our game and grind. Like, that's generally the vibe behind most MMOs. So that was my concern. And it's not that I think Ashes isn't going to nail it. It's that the perception that Ashes isn't going to nail it, that's going to keep people away from the game. So we have to make some content videos, guys. That's what we got to make some YouTube content videos about how there's no griefing.
There's no griefing. As for me, I think it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Like, I absolutely have hopes for the best, and I do know that there's going to be a lot of time for them to tune. I honestly, personally don't expect Alpha 2 to be any shorter than a year and a half, just for everything to get all the content out of there. And that's going to give plenty of time for people to test a lot of stuff and really work out a lot of kinks and like the corruption and whatnot. So I have faith it's not going to be the same as it is at the beginning of A2 by the time beta comes around, and even after beta there might be some tweaks to everything. So we'll see what happens, but I will say that every time I've approached or witnessed a game claiming like, hey, we're going to go back to old school hardcore this and that, it's never ended well. Because older games were hard and difficult. To be honest, think about it, because the average player base was not as skilled in them. That's one of the big reasons. It's just people didn't know these systems. They were all new. But nowadays it's really hard to create a 100% brand new game with a 100% brand new feel. It's all like recycling this and that and the other and pulling from so many different areas and creating something new out of all these spare parts. And then adding a few flares of their own. You always have to add something of your own to make it unique, like truly unique. But it's still the same carrots and all the different soups. Let's just to put it that way. But when the carrots were brand new, people had a hard time with it. People didn't understand stuff. It was still a new concept, playing with so many, large numbers of people. And the Mortal Online full loot drop is just absolutely as hardcore as you can go. That's one of the reasons that I ended up immediately dipping out of the PvP realms in Ultima Online, because I honestly was not good enough. I didn't have time enough to get good enough to be able to avoid all of the griefers. There's going to be a corruption system in Ashes, but just like real life, jerks are going to find a way to be jerks. It's going to happen. If they're not going to be able to grief you just running around, they're probably going to try and find a way to just spam, slay, I don't know, caravans. Which doesn't get them corruption. But I mean, we'll, like I said, we'll see though. These are just fears I have, more so than predictions that it's definitely going to be a downer or anything like that. These are just fears that I have, and I hope it doesn't turn out that way, and I hope things get tuned. I think they know I think that the Intrepid team knows kind of what's at stake if they don't nail that balance, right? Because I think they know their audience pretty well by this point. It's been 7 years now. So I think they've got enough feedback. Like, personally, I don't mind full loot drops in games that like Dark and Darker. I love Dark and Darker. I think it's a blast of a game. Like, I'm not a huge Tarkov player, but Dark and Darker fit that niche for me. I don't mind full loot drops in games where it's not like you've got this invested time in 3 or 4 year character. You've got your legendary sword, right, that you've been farming for. So I think that they've got a good beat on the MMO community, and adding that little bit of risk to the game without it feeling like it's bad. And that's always like the conundrum, right? Is like, how do you make it feel risky but not remove the fun? Because once the game becomes unfun, you lose your audience. What is it? The rule of cool?
The rule of cool. I've never heard that, but I like it.
My thoughts are that I don't really have good thoughts on them. Not like I have a bad perspective on it. I just don't have a perspective on it because I haven't played a game like Ashes is going to be. And I know that with Grim mentioning PAX Day's alpha started today, I believe, and is going on for about 5 days, I think. And there's been a few people that have been popping on and playtesting it today. And it looks interesting. But I just don't really know much in terms of how PVX is gonna feel and how it's gonna like work out, but I do know that with the corruption system in place, it'll be very interesting to test. And that corruption system does make me want to try in, you know, PvP a little bit, or like not feel as worried about being attacked. But again, there's a lot of testing that's going to have to go through it. But I think also some of these survival type of games do give you that very realistic of like, hey, there's consequences to dying, you know, in the open world. I think one person I was watching, they accidentally died to a bunch of boars, and then their stuff was like stuck in the middle of this group of boars, and they were not able to go get their clothes and their rocks from them. So they were just kind of stuck. Yeah.
Yeah. You can, well, you can, then maybe they didn't know. You can, I've been playing Backstay today a little bit. It's really fun. You can summon your corpse. So if you're close enough to it, you can summon your corpse to you. So you can avoid. So like I died to a black bear that I should not have pulled. And, and like I got within a certain range, and you hold down T and you summon your corpse to you.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, with PAX Day, didn't they? I mean, I haven't really kept up with it, but have they actually even implemented PvP? Is that the really funny part about that, Grim? Like they haven't really fully implemented PvP, so attacking back, quote unquote, doesn't really work well. Because that would be hilarious. I thought I heard at one point that they hadn't turned on PvP yet.
It's on, but in certain zones. Yeah.
Yeah. No PvP. Okay.
So you have to go to a certain zone, and there's PvP now. That's part of this alpha too. Is combat.
He says, I think it gets cut off there, but in A1, before we got told to stop going corrupt, I tried it out a bit. By 10 people, it was harsh. I mostly killed gold spammers and shouty people.
Nice.
All right, so the next one I want to talk about is what do you think of MMOs selling weapon and armor styles or motifs like ESO versus selling transmog cosmetics versus selling tradable premium memberships like RuneScape? So if that wasn't quite clear, what monetization practices outside of subscription do you view as positive and what are negative?
So when you say a motif, is that like you just buy a whole set and you apply it to like a cosmetic slot and it just takes over instead of applying it to each individual armor piece? Is that what
I would like to say yes, but I've never played ESO. If there's anybody in chat who has
it's
played
been a while
ESO,
since I played,
who knows what a motif is and can explain.
I think
so in Elder Scrolls Online, armor motifs are collectible items that allow players to craft armor and weapons in various cultural styles. Motifs can also be used to change the appearance of existing armor for a small fee.
That's kind of cool, actually.
So Grim says it's complete. Okay. So you would like basically craft a thing and then you put it into a Lost Ark had a very similar thing. If I remember correctly, they have like a transmog tab and you apply a transmog and it applies to all your gear.
Yeah, transmog outfit versus I guess individual transmog cosmetics versus selling tradable premium memberships.
Also like World of Warcraft, I think, for the membership. No, I guess the premium membership would be more like
WoW lost its integrity when they sold the WoW token, so we'll just leave it at that. But sub is fine. So premium memberships to me are a sub. So like any game that has a premium membership, it's just kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing. You're doing a sub fee. Like if you're going to play this game on any serious level, you're going to pay for the premium membership, right? It usually comes with like an XP boost and like crafting, whatever, right? Like, yes, it's pay to win, but if it's just basically something almost everybody's doing versus one person, a few people not doing it to enjoy the, whatever kind of theme park mentality of the game, I don't have a problem with premium memberships. In all honesty, I don't have a problem with selling cosmetics in general. Like I have a problem with the monetization as a whole, but if we were to take like all the evils of monetization, those are all like the least of the evils, right? So I think ultimately I don't have a problem with almost any of those for a live service game. And there have been some games that are not live service where they sell those things, and I'm just blown away. It's like, why are you like? You're not developing this any further. You're not balancing. You're not making changes. You're not adding anything.
Right.
why are you selling skins? That one is weird to me. What was that? Dragon's Dogma was doing that, right? And that was the big hubbub around Dragon's Dogma 2 that came out.
Gotcha.
It's a great game.
2.
2. Yes, 2. Everyone loved it. I actually haven't played it, but the big thing was you could buy campfires or whatever that you could teleport to, which you could earn in game, but the ones you bought were a lighter weight in your inventory than the ones you could. So there was like these weird little things that they sold. Completely single player game. That kind of miffs me a bit, especially when it's a $70 game, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Dragon's Dogma 2, that one I had heard of, and I kind of looked into it and decided I wasn't going to buy it just because of their whole, like, I think before they launched, they had like $700 or something crazy like that worth of add-ons that you could buy that were just cosmetic stuff for a single player game.
Yeah.
A bit much, right?
Yeah.
But in general, I don't have a problem with anything that doesn't give you an advantage of other players. And I take a pretty old school hardline stance on pay to win. If you can earn it in game or you could still buy it, I don't really like it. Like it just because then it devalues the time and effort I've spent in the game. And I get that it doesn't affect me if somebody else does it, but at a mental level, as like an older school gamer, it does affect me. It's like, well, this cheapens everything I've done. Like I come from the era where like if you're kitted out in purple gear, right? Like, or whatever, and it's a flex, right? You stand in the middle of a social center. That's to me in an MMO, like that's part of the game. It's kind of like the gear flex a little bit, right? Like I did this. Yeah. It's achievement based.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, Mr. Valentine always has some good points. And this one is one that I was actually going to say basically outright myself was I feel RuneScape's premium membership is the real game and the free-to-play version is the demo to get you to commit to a membership. Those types of premium memberships I am 1000% in support of. If it's a free-to-play game, and there's a premium membership that gets you to where the developers wanted the game to be, but you can have the option to play with a downgraded experience with like lesser experience rolling in, less money rolling in, less bag space for free, that type of thing, then I'm 100% okay, because that means that any single month that I just don't feel like paying that bill because I don't feel like playing until they release the next expansion, I don't have to pay, but I can still hang out with my friends or do little silly things here or there, and I'm not trying to progress, or I'm not trying to get the full experience of the game. I'm okay with that. I actually really like those.
Grim Liberty says OMG, pre-BC the tier armors, then BC came out and the first green I found was an upgrade. The hoochie pants.
Nice. Nice.
And Viral, in response to you, Vertex says, yeah, I'm good with that model too. Welcome in, Basil. Hi. And I mean, I was gonna raid Mr. Valentine's thing as well, but basically, yeah, I guess I'll just say I'll agree because you guys said everything that I would have said. So.
I think Grim Liberty's comment makes me laugh a lot because that it was a really bad, and this is actually I wonder how Ashes is going to deal with this, but obviously getting the game out is first priority, but it felt really bad like farming end game raids for a year or 2 years when you hit max level and you go from purple to purple to purple in a lot of my experience comes from WoW, but and then an expansion comes out and the first quest screen you get is like better than something you've gotten that's a purple legendary. It's like it doesn't feel great to give up all that year's work for because of new expansions here, and there's a new power level that they've artificially increased. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously Guild Wars skirted that by just having everything be horizontal, but there's different ways around that.
I would kind of agree with you on that, but I would add one caveat. After they introduced like proper transmog, then that actually isn't a bad thing, because you can spend all the time to defeat the raid, get all the special pieces of the special colors that only drop from a heroic raid. That's
true.
Heroic 25 man or whatever, and the only way you can transmog it is by getting that from the raid. And you spend all the time and you got it all, and you move on, and you can still wear that. Nobody else can wear that until they go through and get all those pieces, which,
usually
down the line somebody could roll back.
usually the next expansion, it's really hard to go and solo the raids from the previous expansion, but like obviously
So it's
years
gonna
and
take
years
you
on.
2 expansions down the road, then you might be able to, or at least get a team of 5 to take out a 25 man, but it's still going to take some effort.
But down the line, really the only flex that exists in WoW as far as like appearance goes is titles and mounts at this point, right? Like and then current tier stuff, transmogs. But yeah, I think that's an interesting, like the longer an MMO lives on, kind of the more it becomes its own enemy as far as like player achievements go, right? Because because you have to gain some power fantasy year by year, right? Which devalues when somebody did it in a current time. So what do you do? Titles and mounts and things. But interesting. Take
them away after the next expansion. They hang out for one expansion after the current one, and then it's gone.
Yeah, I mean that's I think, or you have it but like a different color, right? So the same model of gear, but it's now like the next expansion's color. Like dishwater gray or something like that. You have it, but it looks like a placeholder.
It turns out like a black and white version of the comic or something.
All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and move us on over to gameplay. This is from Reddit, and basically to TLDR this post. They're asking, what do you think is a fair way for people at Intrepid to be able to play AshesofCreation once it's rolling? And I don't know if they know about name holding, because one of the things that they raised was somebody taking Steven's name, but that is per server. So what are your thoughts?
So I read that post, and my first thought was, have they seen Steven play the game? I don't think he's no, I like, obviously, and he's admitted he kind of dumbs down he kind of dumbs down the gameplay a little bit, and he like it's what he said to make it more relatable for people just joining the stream. I don't have a problem with it. Like, I mean, I would have a problem maybe if people are just like it, but you're gonna have that everywhere. You're gonna have Asmongold playing the game. You're gonna have Shroud playing the game. They're gonna get handed stuff, right? Is that any worse? And I don't think Steven would take it, or GMs would take just freebies, because I think they actually want to play their game. But you have streamers that come into these games and they get just gifted everything from their communities. Is that really worse? No, not at all, right? Like. So to me, that's not a problem. Like, let them play the game. They've worked hard on it, and they've said from the outset it's a passion project, which means they want to play it. They want to make a game that they want to play, and I get that. I helped develop a card game with a buddy of mine over the past year and a half. We're really into like strategy board games and stuff, and we started creating one, and that was our outset, was like, we want to create a game that we think is really fun. It was like a dungeon crawler card game, right? And it's actually kind of getting remodeled, and it might get published, but that was it. Like, I just want to play it, like, and I get that they would want to as well, and I wouldn't want them to not be able to play it. I don't know, I don't think there's a conflict of interest, as long as they, like, if you start seeing Steven lead a guild and they're getting world first everything, but even then, we don't know how competitive PvE is going to be yet in this game, right? And being PvX, I feel like limits how hard they can develop something. I think, at least, right? Because if you try to kill a boss that has really, really hard mechanics from a PvE standpoint, and you're also getting third partied by or fourth and fifth partied by other players, like, how hard can you really develop that boss? So I don't know. I don't think I have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I think it'd be fun to run into GMs and names in the world. And but I mean, what do you guys think? What do you think? Like, again, obviously, like, Stevens and Margaret and other people aren't going to play on every server, so people, maybe they'll just ban it so you can't make those names on those servers, like, so you can falsify.
I would assume there's going to be a global name ban. Like, main characters in the story, like, those names are not going to be taken. Like, GM's names that they've been playing on stream so many times are not going to be able to be taken. Yeah. And they'll probably get first pick as far as blacklisting or claiming of names across every server for characters that they might want to play in the future. And more, I mean, honestly, I'm in support of it, to be honest. If they're making the game and going through all that, like, let them reserve a couple names, because they're gonna want their name that they've been putting on stream for a while, as well as maybe a private name to go hide and just play the game on their own too.
Yeah, they might not want to be recognized.
Yeah,
it's not like
exactly.
They might just want to play it and see how it works from a random person standpoint. I love
live incognito.
Ashes of Nair comment. Money sign Steven, money sign Sharif.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's like, I like Basil's comment. I said Bagel. Basil's comment. No one better take my name. I'll become a PvP player real fast.
I'm gonna grief you until you give me my name.
yeah. But yeah, I think it'd be neat if they went around and played the game just like ordinary folks. They're just trying to play it, have fun, do nifty stuff. It would be neat if they were to have, and I forget if I just read this in the Reddit or if somebody had it in chat. There we are. Yeah, Mr. Valentine, their own server with a specific warning before joining moderator servers, because then they could actually just play the, as they want to, and even help each other experiment around with builds and stuff like that too.
Yeah. Mr. Valentine, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, if I was an Intrepid developer or employee and I was playing the game, I would actually want to probably play at random just to get honest feedback from people too, right? Like, which classes do people feel in the moment, overtuned, and which, what systems are not working, and you could get some really honest feedback if you don't have that name tag.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, Shibi.
All good. Mr. Valentine says, if I remember right, there have been issues in the past where GMs have boosted their guilds. In my opinion, I should know if a developer and GM were playing on the server. And I want to copy or pair that with what Raka says. I don't think we should be able to have GM in front or behind our names, as not to have people confuse us with non-GMs for GMs. Or us non-GMs for GMs. And I think that's also a very valid point, is like, I think honestly they have the capability of locking their name for every server, because if you can do it for one, I think they can do it for all of them. So that way the player can't pretend to be Luperza on one server versus another. And yes, while GM is a guild, I think guilds look differently from names. So if there happens to be like GM Steven or something like that, I think that is, yeah.
I think with I was just one last point to that. I think with the amount of transparency Intrepid have had for the most part over the past just 7 years, I don't have a reason to doubt that they wouldn't be transparent about that too, with their name before it, right? Before, if that's what they wanted to do. I mean, I guess at this point, I kind of just trust them, and maybe I shouldn't. We've been abused by game developers so much in the past, but for some reason, I just kind of trust that they're not going to abuse it, because I think it's a passion project and they don't want it to fail, and that would be a huge controversy and that would drive players away.
Yeah. Also, I agree. Chialde says, I wouldn't be surprised if the GMs will have just a character in every server by default. But
I mean, I would.
You would be surprised if a GM had a character on every server?
Well, I would do that.
Oh,
I would do that. Okay. I wouldn't be surprised, but I would also have a character in every server.
Oh, yeah.
To be honest, I might anyway as a non-GM.
Moving us on to an unpopular opinion by Martian Ape, which is Zergs are necessary and castle sieges should not be fair. I'm not very good at explaining a TLDR on this one. but in general, they think that it'd be more fun if that like castle sieges weren't like on a 1-to-1 basis exactly. Hello, Kieran. Welcome in.
Well, then I'll see if I can come up with a decent TLDR. I think honestly,
Thank you,
the
Jeeves.
best TLDR that I could possibly jump into this.
Yeah.
It would be one of the paragraphs actually begins with a sentence that says, "As I said, I don't believe a small group of people should have all the power just because they are good at PvP, because that usually turns to tyranny real quick."
Lannister.
Yeah. So I think that's the main. I think that's kind of the TLDR that I would put out there of it. Is it's if it's too easy to have skill over power, just pure numbers, then it's going to end up being potential tyranny.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be more of a numbers based thing than anything else. But it would just be a different type of tyranny. Yeah. Gary, what do you think there, Drew?
Yeah, I'm trying to like digest. I was perusing that post as you're reading as well, and I think another point here is, in my mind, the winner of the battle should be decided with the best combination of 4 things: skill, PvP players, equipment, PvE players, organization, party leaders, and/or shot callers, numbers, guild leaders, and politician. So, there was a day and age where in a lot of MMOs, the PvE players with the highest gear just won PvP because there wasn't like a PvP mindset right in the game.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to see that happen again, because then you drive away the PvP players, right? Who want to demonstrate skill over gear. There should always be, in my opinion, if you were to have like a gap, right, a skill gap, you might probably not coming through in the little bubble there. I was using my hands, but if you are at a skill gap, it should always slightly edge out PvP skill, right? And shot call. To me, shot calling falls under PvP skill as well. Group organization, right? That should always edge out just straight up gear. I don't think gear should be the determining factor for all PvP engagements. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of my thought about it. I don't necessarily think Zergs should also. I think it should kind of go like this: PvP organization, Zergs and PvP skill. I guess if we were to separate organization of PvP from PvP, like individual player skill, Zergs and PvP skill should be the next tier, and then gear should be the last tier. I just think that in something, especially like sieges, where you could have 100 v 100 or even more, depending on what they end up going with. Organization should be king, because it's so much harder to organize 100 people than it is to get some gear that's slightly better than somebody else. I think at least, so wrangling 100 people is tough, and getting them to flank and wait for their moment to enter the battle if necessary, or capture objectives. So I think organization should always be, in large scale PvP, should be king in sieges, I think.
That's why 40-man raids used to be legendary, because they occurred more so than completing the raid.
I was the guild leader of a classic WoW in that 2019 guild, and just getting 40 people to show up was like the hardest part of the game. Incentivizing, making sure loot rules were fair, just getting people to be there. Oh my gosh, like killing bosses was a breeze. Just organizing them and getting them to be there, crazy.
Got to get 50 people to show up to account for the 10 that are absolutely not going to actually show up.
Yeah, you knew the ones too that were always a 50-50.
I do like the power struggle with it not being exactly even, because then you have one that has more numbers than the other, but sheer numbers doesn't always work without good strategy. So sometimes if you have less people but a really good strategy, you can still outdo the numbers. I really like that. Mr. Valentine also says, I want a reason to fight the castle siege instead of a numbers game on how many people can we throw at the enemy. And El Shialde says, castle sieges are not a numbers game if both sides are limited to a max number. And which is the case. We were talking earlier that 250 v 250 or maybe up to 500 v 500 if the servers can handle it. And those are just really good points on that. And honestly, like, even though they think it's an unpopular opinion, the comments seem to agree. Like, Lineker specifically says, I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. It's based, and that's how it will or should be. Keep in mind, Zergs in Ashes of Creation are being dealt with the lack of teleportation. So I think that's really, like, there's a lot of interesting things. And like, calling back earlier, to a different part of this podcast, Vertek, you said, you have to build something new with these spare parts. And I think that's exactly what Intrepid is doing, and very well at it, if I may say so.
Yeah. I think it's the point of Zergs, or just controlling numbers of people in PvP. One of the exceptional things you get from a really good PvP shot caller is just this massive amount of game knowledge. So if you've ever been in large scale PvP with a good PvP shot caller, I am not that person, but I have been in them with a good PvP shot caller. They know like what every class is really good at in the moment that they need them to be good at that thing. Like, they know every class's abilities, strengths, and weaknesses. Right? And that's insane amount of game knowledge to know, especially if you're looking at possibly 64 unique classes. Let alone 8 unique archetypes. But just knowing every tool they have in their kit, where they need to be positioned, who is grouped with who's best at healing melee groups, and who's best at healing range groups, and who's best at so just getting a really good PvP shot caller is an impressive skill. And I think that, like, again, that goes back to my point. I think organization of like a large group. So not even necessarily to me, a Zerg is just like throw numbers at a wall until the wall falls down, right? To me, the organization of that Zerg should be king in large scale PvP, because that's an impressive feat to know exactly, to outmaneuver your opponents, not just with the knowledge of class skills, but also the players in your group and positioning of the battlefield and all that. So, sorry.
But then is it really truly a Zerg, or was it just greater numbers?
To me, a Zerg is,
like you're saying, a Zerg is
greater.
Just throwing numbers at people, like, go attack the walls, everybody at once. Because we have
that's
so
what a
many
Zerg
people.
is. Because if you look back at the origin of Zerg, or at StarCraft, right, you played a class, played a race that literally was dependent on creating a million small guys to throw at a base, regardless of organizing them. You just throw the Zerglings, right? That was it. That's the Zerg. So to me, maybe, like, I think greater numbers and Zerg are the same thing. So I actually maybe disagree. I don't think the Zerg should win. I think Zergs with organization. I don't know what that equivalent would be in the gaming industry, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
I've always associated the word Zerg with just not necessarily organized. Just, hey, there's a thing. Everybody go squish it. Everybody. Yeah. What do you mean squish it? Just hit the damage buttons. Go.
Get your maces out and get to that wall and smash it with your mace, because blunt force, and everybody, doesn't matter who dies. I'm willing to sacrifice that.
Yeah, exactly. But like, just having greater numbers would still be more of an organization and strategy play, and you just have greater numbers, and that helped you win. But it wasn't truly a Zerg, because you didn't count as your strategy being just having bigger numbers.
It's like 300, right? Sparta, like 300 people can fight off a Zerg, though, if you do it correctly, I guess.
Mr. Valentine has a question. Should the defenders of the castle have defensive abilities like caravans controlled maybe from a war room or something? That's
like a special set of skills that go to like a special skill bar, or like vats of oil and catapults on the wall. I mean, I guess it could be broken down 2 ways. Do you have like a shield of protection? You can just maybe you have a mage specialization in your castle, right? And you can do the the Harry Potter thing where you've got the big the big shield around the fortress, right? I don't know. Would you have to unlock that? Would that be yet another progression tree? Or would you just say, no, we've got, typical medieval siege counter siege tools?
Right.
I don't know.
Honestly, Valentine, I think that both sides should have special things that they can either unlock or bring to the table, but it's going to take some kind of effort, like having the reliquary for the defending node. If they have something in their reliquary, maybe it'll help out during the siege. But if there's an attacking group, since anybody can lay siege, and it may not necessarily be a node versus node, then they might have to do other things. Like there's quests that they can complete during the ramp up to the siege that maybe they can unlock some kind of, special group buff or something that the leader or the one that threw down the proverbial gauntlet could pop
You
out
got
like
the
a group skill or
the
something.
Lost Ark of the Covenant in your castle keep.
Yeah,
The Crusaders are there to get it.
Oh, that's funny.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know, because again, that's I think either that would be things you would either have to farm and prepare before the siege, or it would be a progression tree for some sort of siege group. But again, how do you, what would that even cause, under a guild alliance? Where would that be even held under, right? I'm not sure. Maybe you level up your siege, your siege sigil or whatever it is that you slam in the ground, to declare the siege. And you say, I'm bringing these things to it. And then you have the castle that can see that and they can prepare a counter. I don't know. That'd be very interesting. I love plays and counterplays, so I think that's a really good question.
I'm gonna move us on to like a random topic on Unreal Engine 5.4. They apparently recently just did at GDC an update on it, a little sneak peek. And in the video, it is mentioned that Nanite and Lumen performance are improved of 2 times compared to UE 5.0, which would be awesome for sieges and big nodes. Some things look better now, like heterogeneous volume improvements. And there's a lot of work on animations in the engine that Nair hopes that can translate to a faster development time for Ashes. Not his field of expertise though, so not really sure. And a cool new audio tool. And there was recently, I was watching, I think somebody again this morning, and they were comparing playing a game that's built in like Unreal Engine 4 or something like that, and just like the graphic difference just being immense and really nice to see, as we're seeing a lot of games coming out with Unreal Engine 5. And I don't know, I think it's really, really cool. It's nice to see that there's tools like this that are helping game developers create a game faster. And Nair says, I think my main takeaway is the performance increase. Super nice. I agree. Grim Liberty says the new U5 adds 3D to the base textures, so ground will not be looking flat, tree bark can look real, etc. I think that's really, really cool. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Vertec.
I really like the performance increase part though. That's the big one.
Oh yeah. I mean, you saw the minimum required specs that they put out already. That's some pretty high specs.
Yeah. Sorry, Droog, you were saying something right about the same time I was.
Oh, it's all good. I was gonna say, I think the increased development time for decreased development time for developers is amazing. You've already seen statements from Ghostcrawler, right, with his new Pixel Castle, whatever studio he broke off from, right, to found for the project Ghost or whatever. Yeah, I think it's called Ghost. I mean, he's saying they're going to do the MMO in probably, half the time, or a little bit, like slightly more than half the time of a typical MMO development. But I think that's all being made possible by UE5 tools. We saw the desert showcase from Ashes, 2 years ago now? Mm-hmm. Long time ago. But they were, you saw them creating the textures just with the brush, like
Yeah.
So I think these tools, whatever they have, are going to be amazing for games coming out. Now, I don't think Ashes should delay to, again, 5.4, Unreal 5.4 is still very much experimental. So I don't think we can even say, should Ashes adopt it or not, because we don't even know what's going to be put into it, right? It was kind of a preview of what might come.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to say whether or not Ashes or Intrepid should utilize it, but I think I don't know. They would have to weigh the decision. Is it faster and more efficient for the next year and a half for us to put it out? But I don't think they can delay Alpha 2 for it, right? I think that would be a marketing nightmare, and obviously everyone's already a little concerned about that. And I hate to say it, because I want Intrepid to cook. Give them the time they need to make the game that they want to make. And they knew that going into saying Q3, right? That's why they haven't given us an official date yet. That if they locked in a date and they couldn't meet it, it would be bad after 7 years. So
Yeah.
I don't think they should delay for 5.4 if that was the thing that was available right now. But I think, over Alpha 2 going into betas, look at implementing that if it could speed up the time of development for the final release.
Right.
But I think it's super cool. I mean, Unreal 5 is just going off right now with what allowing developers to do.
Right.
Yeah. Exciting times.
And then just to touch on some official Ashes news, the Q&A submission is open, and the live stream will be. I didn't click my own link. The live stream will be Tuesday, April 30th. So we'll have a rare chance of being able to have a live stream right before we go live with King Ezekiel King. For next week, so that'll be exciting.
That'll be fun.
And also, in case you didn't know, they changed the topic. So next live stream is featuring Alpha 2 nighttime lighting and wand weapon combo preview. So that'll be really cool to see.
What was it changed from? You said they've changed it?
I think the people in our Discord were speculating that it was going to be on some sort of like PvP thing.
Yeah, so I think that was based off of Margaret teasing that icon, right? That people were speculating was like a declaration of a siege, like kind of a stake in the ground. Wasn't that what that's my understanding? It was a speculation on that. My interpretation of this announcement was that she just teased us wands. Those are just wands. I was like, we were a little bamboozled. She just showed us some wands for like the for the
a random reason.
The VEC. Yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome. I like it.
I don't know.
What do you
but that's what I had heard too. It was going to be sieges. That thing was supposed to be like a the thing you plant, the sigil or whatever you plant in the ground to declare a siege. But
yeah. Valentine's asking, why do you think they announced on the last day of the month instead of the last Friday as usual? I think they've been doing that for the past couple of months, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been
keep hitting the last day.
Yeah.
I think they're also trying to give themselves as much wiggle room as possible. So, yeah. Plus, they had a bad experience of trying to rush to get us a video last minute for streams and it going horrible, and the community very much having a thought on that. And I think that they are just trying to give themselves as much time as possible for that reasoning.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Steven's always casting from his Vegas hotel room. That man was always in Vegas. He's always like, I was in Vegas this past week. I was in Vegas.
Yeah. I thought, yeah. So then the next thing I want to do is show Tomo Burb made Vertec a little Vec doodle. And so I'm going to use the big screen for this because we almost never use that. So here's this Vec doodle in all of its glory.
Yes, I love it so much.
And if you like the way that this looks, please check out Tomo Burb's other forum creations and all their other doodles. That and I'm just gonna leave this up while we talk about Grand Thor. So Grand Thor has been gone for 2 years and is back. And there was actually another thread that Grand Thor created asking for people to help fill him in on like what's changed. Get him up to date. And at the same time, he posted this, The Adventures of Wally the Wizard. So if you like lore bits, this is another little fanfic lore bit. So wanted to share those because I think we've been forgetting to get to sharing anything the last couple of weeks. So I apologize to our community for that. Because we keep
getting caught up in conversation, and then we get to the end and we're like, oh shoot, we should have ended 10 minutes ago. We should probably end that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like that Vec doodle. That's really, really good.
Yeah,
the shading is amazing.
It's really nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm a super fan.
I was really excited to see that too. I was like, oh, that's so cute. Because I randomly got pinged and I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, Vertec, you need to look at your pings like right now. Just
Get
do
online. Look at Discord now.
I wouldn't tell him what it was, but as soon as he saw it, he knew. So yeah.
I thought it was like an A2 announcement or like something.
That's something way cooler.
Something like super crazy. Like, no, I mean, the art is amazing, but I was expecting the way she was talking. I thought it was something like, we've been waiting so long for this announcement.
Look, I love art. I am an artaholic. If you want to make me art, I will cherish every bit of art. I also have a really hard time not spending my money on art. I like art.
Same. I mean,
So you were
a
a big fan of live streams about 2.5 years ago. There was about 6 months where you were just in heaven there, weren't you, Chibi? They were just the art live streams.
It's like cool to see art, but I'm more so like watching people draw. Or like I love getting art of like my characters and things like that because it just, I don't know, it's like, it's nice. And I think it came about actually while I was playing Final Fantasy 14 and I saw all these people getting art of their Final Fantasy 14 characters. And I was like, what? People get art for their like MMO characters?
That's the community. Yeah, that's the community to get into that. And Final Fantasy people love their RP and their art and their characters. It's amazing. So, that game is really, really cool. And the people that play that game are really cool. It's just been a blast.
Yeah.
Art's a serious addiction. Just saying.
It is. It really is.
Do you watch art Twitch streams? People drawing
I find it really relaxing. I always try to find one that has some nice lo-fi while they're working because I'm enjoying the lo-fi, but then there's also like that sense of somebody else is being productive around you. So it's like you're not working by yourself because when you're remote, sometimes you just make up your own environment to be productive in, and that's it sometimes for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
cool. I'll have to check out Wally the Wizard. I don't know who Granther is. I'm not
Granther has been making go ahead, Vertek. He's your favorite, so I'll let you.
Granther has been one of my favorite like content creators that's not doing video content for the longest time. Made some really cool stories and disappeared off the face of the earth. So I'm super excited he's back. And yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely check it out. If you just search his name, you'll probably find a ton of archived and older stories. Yeah.
But
well, now we know he has to make a wizard and name it Wally. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. But also thank you once again. Not a murder hobo at all. Yeah, thank you again to Tomo though. That was a good surprise to get yelled at about.
Yeah.
And I only say yelled at because it was literally a shout from across the house to get me online.
Just to answer Valentine, my drawings actually are right on my. You can't see it on the stream, but right behind me there's a bulletin board, like a whiteboard, and my daughter's art always goes up there, and it's always a part of the stream. So if you actually want to know art on the fridge, it's always actually right here. It's part of my daily work, and I work from home as well, so in my streams too. So
yeah.
Love it.
Well, we are here at the end of our podcast. Hello, Thugly, welcome in. Vertek, Droog, do you guys have any final thoughts?
Steven, if you're watching this, let us know the Alpha 2 date, this next live stream, and I'll be and I'm traveling. Keep in mind that I'm traveling a good chunk of May, so we know that that's not a problem. But July and August, let's make it end of August, maybe, or early September. Thanks. I know everybody wants July, but I actually weirdly want it like end of August because that's when I'm actually back in town.
Nice.
My prediction is going to remain September.
I think so too. I think why not just let it cook as long as possible.
Remain the hopeless romantic or the hopeful, I guess.
The copium addict. All right.
I would like to see it in July. That would be nice.
Well, actually, I guess sorry, I got my months mixed up. I was thinking the middle of the 3-month spread is what I've been going with. So August, yeah. So August, if it's September, it's gonna be early September. That's my prediction.
So I think the best way to probably predict it is look at what games are releasing, because I think Steven's a marketing guy, right? And I think he's gonna have his finger on like the pulse of the gaming industry, and in that 3-month period, wherever there's a little bit of a lull, is probably where they'll do it if they're ready. because it doesn't make sense to release it right at the same time as WoW's next expansion or whatever, right? Like,
Right.
I think if you were to actually look at the timelines, which I haven't, you could probably guess if you were to go based on if you were to say they're ready now, but based on marketing and success of Alpha 2 launch, it would be whenever there's a little bit of a downtime.
Yeah. So, Vertec, what are your wrap up thoughts?
So, sorry, I just want to say, hey, by the way, hey there, Thogli, how bad would it be if it gets pushed back? I don't know. I'm not caring too much necessarily, but I'm kind of also hoping that they don't keep pushing everything back.
From like a personal standpoint, like it's not so bad, right? Like I think most of us that are been following it for a while now wouldn't care if it gets pushed back. Gaming industry and perception as a whole, it would be rough because it would be another like. There's so many people skeptical of it, right now. There's so many people like it's never coming out. 2040, whatever. Like I hate to be like that jaded person, but like it would be kind of bad. Not for me, but because of perception and articles that would get written. But again, we're all fickle. 2 months later, we'd forget about it anyways, right? So I guess maybe it wouldn't be that bad. Who knows? Yeah,
fair enough. But either way, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for hanging out with us.
Is that your final thoughts?
I can absolutely think of some final thoughts if I really need to. Yes. Final thoughts. I don't know. You're gonna make my brain work. My brain is not doing very good brain things. Okay. So no, I don't have any final thoughts. Yes, my final thoughts are thank you for showing up.
Let's hope the lighting is good for nighttime. That's for tech. I'll jump in there for you. Let's see what they do.
Yeah, there you go.
And thank you, everyone. Oh, Nara, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and hanging out. You could be finding your own young man who's belonging to a street gang, but we found him for you, the one and only Droog. And you joined us for that, so that's awesome. We appreciate your chatter. We appreciate your viewership. As always, we could not have our podcast without that. And if you want to hear more of our thoughts, we'll be live tomorrow with more discussions on Ashes of Creation. But
I did not mean to click that.
We've already
for those
rated.
of you on YouTube, we were rating on over to Nice, and is there no one else? So,
thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. It was a fun time.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. All right.
Thanks, guys.